and good morning. Welcome to the Coffee Table Talks. Today we have Peter H. Gregory. I'm going to ask him what the H stands for later. If you're new here, usually we have a chat that's up that I forgot to click the button on. There it is. Little bit of housekeeping. If you join and chitty chat on the live events on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitch, we're live on Twitch because I like games. That's how we do stuff here. You will pop up in the scrolling sidebar right here. So don't embarrass your family and keep it nice. I am Rachel Arnold, the human API with SecureNation. You can check out LinkedIn, follow us from that QR code over there. And know every time that we're doing a live event on LinkedIn. And then you can participate. Isn't that fun? I like it. It's fun. This giggly guy up here is Will McCullen. He is the IT program manager for the Center of Excellence at PIMA Community College in Tucson, Arizona. And this is Peter H. Gregory. If you are unfamiliar with what it is that Peter H. does, let me help you real quick. This is what Peter does. You see all those books at the top? Ignore the tarot. You see all these books at the top right here? Apparently, Google has ascertained that if I Google Peter H. Gregory looking for a CISA or a CISM or anything other prep work or books, Peter has written the books on them, but Google has decided I'm unsure about my future and need tarot as well. But that's what Peter does, as well as other things. But that's probably what you know him for.
Well, I think all that means is that last night's conversation with Alexa in the room, you guys were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, what if I say, hey, Alexa, buy 5 copies of every one of Peter Gregory's books in print? Use my default payment and shipping, go.
We don't keep our mics open and live all the time.
That's wise. I mean, did you hear about the thing? What was it? Maybe 5-6 years ago, where there was something like on a local TV station newscast where they were talking about this, and someone said, you'll buy. The newscaster was saying, well, you could do this by saying, buy this so-and-so dollhouse, and then we're like dozens of people in the service area for that station where they had Alexa going and they had these dollhouses showing up at their house because the newscaster said it and the Alexa heard it.
That's another good reason to control when your mics are live or not in your home, right? I've got little kids. So the Alexa is responsibly locked away in places where our kids are not allowed, like mine and my husband's bedroom. There's one in mine and my husband's bedroom, which is probably really scary, but it's not, because we control when the mic is listening. But the kids are real good at talking to the Google Homes. And the reason we did that was so that they could have a dance party whenever they wanted. Right. So they could play music, so that if they had a question while mom and dad are working and they wanted to ask for reference, they will ask Google. Like, our children are real good, which is really funny when any adult comes over that doesn't understand that my children have this capability, knowledge, and know-how. When they come over and try to tell them falsehoods, or let's talk about us trying to create the magic around Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, and your child knows how to go, hey, Google, is Santa Claus real? Thank you to the people at Google that have made, just ask your Google Home, because it'll be fun. The answer is it helps perpetuate some magic, but it's also a demonstration of how everything on the internet is not true.
The way I found, that's great, Rachel. The way I found that Santa Claus was not real is there was one year I was probably, 10 plus or minus. And I wrote a note to Santa and gave him a plate of cookies. And he wrote me a thank you note in my mother's handwriting.
How cool is that?
I thought, oh, it's a fraud.
Oh, no. So Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Well,
I think
you gotta find out some way.
You are. I think I found out because I have an older brother who is like, now we're friends. He was a jerk. Eric, if you're watching, you're such a jerk when we were kids. Just, I know you know, but I think he told me one day on the school bus, and it broke my heart so bad that I refused to believe it and continued to perpetuate the magic in my life, which is kind of on par for me. I will perpetuate magic anywhere I go. I'll go with it. Hope and believe.
Then when you become a parent, you realize Santa Claus is real, but it's not the same kind of real that you believed as a kid.
Right. Exactly.
And it's even better. It's better.
Yes, it is. Man, we got a lot of chit chatters today. Peter, you come with quite a crowd of fans. Let's see. We got to say hello to some people. Good morning, Britt, James Craig, Pat Patrick. What a great name. Patrick. Get it. Man, was that just good branding on your parents?
Well, yeah, but I can also imagine it's like, well, wait, is it Pat or Patrick? Like, is that your first name?
But then your answer is always yes. Your answer is yes. Is it Pat or Patrick? Yes.
Well, anyone who's afflicted with having two first names like me knows that there's confusion from time to time. You know, when someone says, "Can I have your last name, please?" and I go, "Gregory," and they go, "No, your last name," and I go,
"You're like, yes,
Gregory."
We accidentally did that to both of our boys. So my last name is Arnold.
Right.
Our firstborn's name is Erickson, which is also a last name, and our baby boy's name is Henry, which is also a last name. I didn't realize that, but it is.
So
it's also used as a last name.
Yeah, Arnold Erickson almost goes better than Erickson Arnold, right?
Right? It does. I was like, "Aw." You will forever have two first/last names. Let's see. We've got Joe Pina.
All he has to do is switch him at cons, right? So
yeah.
When he's doing the Viking thing.
Works out. Oh, yeah. We did actually name him. That was the inspiration, was Leif Erikson. That was the thing.
Nice.
I know. I was very proud of myself. He is the most opposite of Viking that you will ever meet in your life. Like, ever. He's so fragile. Good morning, Brandon. Kim McCarty, we see you. Rob Fox. Rob! I wrote your thank you note and it's in the mail. Just saying. Look, Peter, where'd it go? Here it is. Last week, I know you probably didn't get to see it. And everybody's at DEF CON and summer camp today. What's going on today? Is it DEF CON today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Black Hat wrapped up, I think.
Yeah.
Unless they're going this morning too.
They might. You don't know. They could still be going. What are you talking about? They never stop. Rob sent me this very cool fountain pen, and I've been practicing it with it all week. You guys, I'm so in love. I am so in love. I've been writing all of like my like meeting notes, like just my shopping list, like all kinds of stuff. And now I feel so fancy. I love this thing. So that's happening. Let's see. Hi, John Patrick. We got a John Patrick in the audience. Charles Johnson, greetings from Texas. Hello. That's my neighboring state. And yeah, I got everybody. Look at that. I said hi to Letitia. Hi, Letitia. Hi, Peter. Letitia said hi, Peter.
Yeah, Letitia is one of our newest team members in the ESO at GCI.
Cool.
How's that for some acronyms?
That's awesome. Can we talk about what GCI does, or at least what it stands for? I try to rip acronyms apart a little bit.
GCI is General Communications Inc., which doesn't mean much. GCI is an all-inclusive telecom provider serving the entire state of Alaska. If you want, a wireless phone, like you want one of these, go to a GCI store, pick one up, put yourself on a plan. If you need TV cable, GCI. If you need a cable modem for internet, GCI. If you need fixed wireless because you live in the boonies, GCI. If you are a business in Alaska and you need some colo floor space, it's GCI. If you are a business and you need dark fiber, bright fiber, it's GCI.
Wow.
If you need satellite connectivity because you're just far away from all the fiber and microwave we have over Alaska, it's GCI.
Wow.
That's nice. So are there like, how much of Alaska would you say would require satellite? Is a lot?
Well, most of it, but in most of Alaska, there are no people there to serve.
Sure.
Alaska is, one really large metro area, Anchorage, although, for perspective, Anchorage is about the same size as Boise, Idaho, plus or minus. It's not a big place. And then everything else is smaller. Fairbanks, Juneau, the capital, and just a bunch of small towns, and then these native villages spread out all over the place, including the whole Aleutian Island chain. So for population density, Alaska is something like 2 people per square mile. It's like Greenland almost. There's not very many people living there.
I felt the collective from all the people in IT, working in IT, that they don't like peopling. They're not the non-extroverts in IT and cybersecurity that all went, how much distance is there between me and the next human? Why aren't we moving to Alaska?
Alaska is a great place to live. You got to be able to endure the darkness in the winter because it's pretty gloomy. In the depth of winter, you've got maybe 5 hours of direct sunshine a day, and that's when it's not cloudy. And even then, the sun is so low in the sky that, like, at high noon, it's just over the horizon due south.
Very cool.
But in the wintertime, the sun is up 22 hours a day in Anchorage, and more than that, the further north you go.
Wow, that's very cool. I've never
really
been.
Weird. Yeah, the sun pops up and then it goes around the horizon and then it pops down. It's really strange.
Sort of dips. Yeah. You got to have your head on a swivel to see the sun. It in the summertime, it comes from every direction, but due north, unless you're north of the Arctic Circle, plus or minus.
Cool. So you spent quite a bit of time in Alaska. Have you lived there?
I have not lived there, but I have traveled there extensively, and I've gone on some fishing trips way out in the wild in Alaska a few times. One time we were at a lodge and we'd been, fishing and hiking and stuff with 20 people for a few days, and we decided to play poker one night. We thought, well, we'll just play until it gets dark. Well, it never did get dark. In about 3 a.m, we decided we got to be up in 4 hours. Do we want to just keep going, or should we take a nap and shower before the day begins?
I don't know which
beautiful place.
So where are you at now?
I'm in central Washington state, in kind of the dry, unpopulated half of the state. After living in the Seattle area for 25 years, we moved over to what we in Washington call the dry side about 7 years ago.
We do not have a dry side of Louisiana.
No, you don't.
It's all pretty damp. I don't know what dry side is. When I went to go visit Will in Tucson, I was like, this is real dry. And it's the kind of thing you don't, with traveling just abroad, especially to different climates. I didn't realize how acclimated biologically I had become to the humidity. So humidity in Louisiana, and somebody can look this up and correct me, please feel free to. But most days when I check it, it's over 85% humidity for the day. And in the middle of the night, 85% all the time. You walk outside. Like I don't need moisturizer, right? I just walk outside and get some air. Like that's it. I went to go visit Will for like a week. I had the worst laryngitis situation happen at the end of the week because my vocal cords had dried out so bad. My sinus cavity had dried. My skin, I was like, y'all ever seen a skin molt off of a snake? It was like that. It was so gross. It was ugh. But yeah, so I've learned now to pack a humidifier, bring lots and lots of moisturizer, and I also need
Drink
extra
lots of water.
and drink loads of water. Coffee counts, but not enough. Like I had to like start rationing how much water I was drinking every day, like counting how many water bottles, because I was like, wow, I think my kidneys might shut down if I'm not careful.
I mean, coffee is a diuretic. It's like drinking salt water. I mean, every time
Right.
you drink a cup, I mean, you're putting yourself in debt.
I did, Rob. I looked like that guy, but it was. I compared it to, if there's any other parents out there, or just SpongeBob fans. That's a thing.
Yeah.
There's an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants where he goes and visits his squirrel friend Sandy, and she lives in like a globe under the ocean. And when SpongeBob encounters that environment, he dries out and is like a little beady eyed. Like that's how it felt. I was like, I am SpongeBob.
Did he turn into did he do the reverse of like a pop-up sponge?
Yeah, it was bad. It was so bad. I think they even did, they inserted the actual image of a real like dried out kitchen sponge and just like threw it on a table at one point in the episode. Anyway, I have kids, if you haven't figured that out.
Yeah,
I thought maybe you were watching SpongeBob for yourself.
Yeah, no, I probably would though. It's kind of fun. I could see me doing that anyway.
That and The Simpsons, a great way to get indoctrinated into a full mindset of cynicism day and night.
Yes. So good. So good.
So, anyhow, with that, where's your favorite place to write?
Oh, I generally just write here in my studio, which is just my office, which is a separate building on our property. But I've written on airplanes and on road trips and while camping and while at our cabin. Although those days are kind of behind me because, I was doing my full day job and writing. So I didn't have any control over my time. I had very little free time, even weekends. Although that's a little different now.
Meg, can we pop up Peter's book list? Can we do that while we're talking about this part? And Peter, how many books have you written or contributed to? Would you say? Can you count them?
Well, yeah, it kind of depends on how you count. Like if I wrote one book and it was translated into 2 other languages, is that 1 or 3? So there's some funny things about that, but it's around 65 now.
That's
since 1998.
That's
wow.
That's
about a quarter of those are shorter books, like 40 to 70 pages. Those free dummies books that you see at trade shows and stuff like that private companies commission. Like Cisco firewalls for dummies and stuff like that. So I've done maybe 24 of the, maybe 20 of those, and all the rest are full length manuscripts.
wow.
So, what of your works that you've done, what have you enjoyed the most? It's
all really enjoyable. One of the books I enjoyed the most was the writing. This is about 3 years ago now. Writing the book that's called "The Art of Writing Technical Books," which I have right there. That's probably in focus, right?
Yeah, it's in focus. There we go. There was the glare.
Get the glare. I wanted to write this book for years and years because ever since I wrote my first book, Solaris Security, and then a few others after that, I became lots of people's best friend because they're like, you're published. Can you help me get published? What do I need to do? And I helped a lot of people get published, and a lot of people understand what it's like, but they didn't proceed with it. And I wanted to write this book for years, but I never had a chance because I was always writing 1 or 2 books at once, almost continuously for 25 years. But I finally had a long enough break, I think in 2021, and I thought, I think this is my opportunity to get this thing done. And I was really passionate about it because I wanted to be able to help even more people get published. But, mentoring doesn't scale, right? I mean, unless you mentor a crowd, but then that's not mentoring, that's a webinar.
Right. Thank you.
So I finally got that book done, and I mean, it's not going to be a huge seller because the target audience is quite small. I mean, if you're into technology and you want to get published and you don't know how, this is your book. It's not about writing fiction, short stories, novels, doctorate thesis. It's quite narrow but very comprehensive, end to end, including a chapter on what the lifestyle is like. Because if you have a family and you want to write books and you've got a day job, something's got to give. And your family is going to get your leftover time, which there won't be very much of it. I mean, just to be brutally honest. Thank you, Pat. So, there is an impact to writing while working, and that's what it is. So you've really got to get your family on board, otherwise you won't have one, and then you'll really have a lot of time, but no
and a lot of sad things to write about.
So it's kind of like I know that falls in the same light for a lot of programmers as well, to where how much of it is time where you just have to crawl into a cave and just churn out a lot? I mean, are the deadlines difficult? Are things like that push you that hard?
They can be. Some publishers, on certain titles, they are going to be really anxious because in publishing, the way you get competitive advantage is you get your title on a hot topic out before everyone else does. Then you're the only game in town, at least for a while. Although I've been able to do a pretty good job of managing my deadlines and managing publisher expectations, and they've always known, look, I've got a day job, and you want me to write this full-length book, it's going to take 4 months to do it, and there isn't any way to get it done faster. So sometimes there's pressure, and I'm behind on a couple of projects, but the publishers are cool. They're making no noise. I say, well, I'm going to be a month late. And they're like, okay, thanks for letting us know. I don't know that everyone gets that same grace, but.
And how, this has always been a curiosity of mine, especially because with a lot of these technical books, how much freedom or leeway do you have? Because a lot of the technical books are very fact-based all the way through, and you really don't see as much of the author, right? The one that I use in class is like some of the Cisco books. They're right up there with The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire as a cure for insomnia, right? They're just dry as dry can be. But like looking at your mentorship book, there's a lot more of you in there. There's a lot more of your persona, and it's more conversational. How do you work that balance?
Great insight, Will. And you're right. When you're writing a tech book, tech books are, for most purposes, not page turners, and you're never dying to know what is going to happen next when I turn the page. What is this person going to do? I mean, it's never like that. But what I try to do in tech books is give real life examples of things to illustrate a point, because and many of those examples are from my consulting days or even my employment days, although I got to be pretty careful on that I'm not actually naming a company. So I'm usually stay very vague on where and when something happened.
Got to keep the lawyers happy.
Well, right. Yeah. And I've never gotten that letter in the mail that says, okay, you crossed that line, dude. And now you're going to pay. So I know how to dodge that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they are dry. What I've been able to, I've earned, it's not the right word, but I have the reputation of being able to explain really complex topics in terms that are easily understood.
That's key.
And I've also in my employment all the way back to the 80s is my career started out as in technology, in computer operations and software engineering in Unix and C and with other languages and operating systems. But then I found myself in situations where I was talking to company management in some client organization and having to explain technical terms in very non-technical ways. And I had a couple mentors on that in the early 80s at the very beginning of my career. And I've likened that to being bilingual, because you got to pay attention to who you're talking to. If you're talking to a board member or a company executive, you're not going to talk technology at all. You're going to explain things in ways that they understand. What does this mean to my business? Forget how the technology works. And then correspondingly, because I worked for 20 years in technology, I had every role in IT that there is for a few years, if not many years. So I have good credibility with IT workers and with management, but it's only because I was forced into those kinds of circumstances where I had to be credible with whoever it was I was speaking with. And it's really just years and years and years of practice to get there.
And that's incredible for students and stuff, especially, right? Because there's such a demand for soft skills. Being able to take that kind of talent that you have there in writing and helping folks to communicate to folks how to actually do that to present their case is huge.
It is. It can be hard, although I've got a lot of experience with it now, and I can generally bang out a clean sheet manuscript pretty fast. But it's only because I have these phrases and paragraphs that are just like stored in my head somewhere, and then I just replay them.
Oh no, we're going to have a Peter AI.
One thing though I'll say though is writing books is not easy, and it took me over a year to write the first draft of Solaris Security. That was my first ever long, big writing project. Full-length book. Published in 99, I think. I mean, it was a right place, right time book that was really good. And I learned years later that every technology employee at Sun Microsystems was given a copy of that book. So thousands.
Awesome.
I don't think I made much royalties on that, but I learned that at a dinner about 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a lot of tech cred.
John Patrick says he's enjoyed everything so far and he's got a conflict for the rest. Try to get the replay. Yeah, Meg or I will always be happy to send you a link to any replays. We understand that there's conflicts, and that's okay. That's why there's a whole YouTube channel and replays, and you can go back and watch it here on LinkedIn or Twitch. Like, there's a lot. Don't worry. We got you covered. Okay, you're gonna be fine. Have a great
belt and suspenders, right? If you can't get it here, you can get it there.
Yep, it's going to be great.
Well, another part with many of those books, oh my word, dude, you are covering massive amounts of information, right, on so many of these. And, I've taken books like that in the past. Just a little tip for folks out there, if you go into an interview, if you can have like an iPad or something like that, looking like you're taking notes, it's great to have the table of contents of some of these books up while you're taking an interview. But anyhow, that massive amount of information, when you go to approach something like that, how do you frame that out? How difficult is that to prepare for and say, okay, I'm going to hit this massive amount of information. How do I line it up? Where do you start?
Great question, Will. For some of my latter books, it really came down to just my career experience, because almost all of the information, say in CISSP for Dummies or the CISM exam guide, I've done all those things. Maybe not for 20 years, but for some time. So I have at least enough insight to understand what I do know and what I don't know. However, there are times in some books where there will be a bit of subject matter that I don't have direct experience in which case I've got to go do research and learn. And I might need to, take a course or read some articles or, buy a tool and play with it, or, whatever I need to do. And this reminds me of a former colleague of mine from the 90s. I'll give him a plug here. His name is Peter Risavi. And he's been a lifelong consultant in the wireless, as in cell phone wireless business. He's been an architect and has co-written wireless protocol standards and such like that. So he's a pretty deep thinker, researcher, implementer. And what he would do is if there was some new topic he wanted to learn, on something on wireless Airlink security or something, I'm just making something up, he would go advertise that he was going to go and do a live seminar, and he would book the venue and everything for like 4 months out, and he'd charge $500 or $1,000 a seat, and then he'd have to go learn it, so that by the time the seminar occurred, he was the expert that he was claiming to be. And I took that on as a way of a method for getting way outside of one's comfort zone.
Wow.
And early in my career, I played it safe and I was in my comfort zone, but I found I was getting bored. And so I decided I needed to start doing some things like public speaking, which my first couple of public speaking stints were awful. I mean, awful. So bad. Thankfully, they're not recorded. But I was there. I know how it went. And I found that career growth and career progression comes from being willing to purposely leave your comfort zone and do something new, take a risk. And, you succeed sometimes and you fail sometimes. It's not boring. Sometimes it's terrifying, but it's never boring.
No, that's very exciting. The opposite of boring is exciting. And sometimes I'm afraid and excited all at the same time.
Yeah. And it's a great way to grow. And in technology, because technology, the tech itself and the methods and the techniques change at such a high rate that to be in technology full-time means you're committing yourself to being a lifelong learner. Otherwise, you're going to be obsolete in 2 years and you're not going to be employable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I think it's so broken. That's why I like what Will and them are doing over at PIMA, right? Is because my husband went through a technical college here in Baton Rouge called ITI, which is great. It's a great one. Our friend Quinn went there too. Some of the regulars have heard me talk about Quinn before. He's, been in the box chatting it up too. But there's not really like a lot of hands-on that they get there. So it's like by the time they learn the theory and everything else, and they start, and then it's like a 2-year program, and then they get out and get like their first entry-level internship or whatever it is. All the stuff that they have to relearn everything because it's already changed. And that's what I like about Will's program is that you get that hands-on experience while you go. So you're applying the theory of everything you read about immediately. And then you're also already understanding that it changes and you're going to have to do your own sort of research outside of the curriculum that's been set. And I just like the flow of it a lot better. I feel like the not kids, they're not all kids, but I feel like the young professionals that are graduating from PIMA are in that program and other similar programs across the country are ahead of the game, like just already, just out of the gate. Like they're just, and it's such a competitive market that I think it really gives them a great edge on their competition. Right.
Yeah. And that's where major props to you, dude, because what that really forms is that what you're exploring in the topics that you do and to the depth that you do them. And sure, just like we tell our students, it's not about who's smarter, it's about mileage, right? And so you're taking a massive amount of mileage that you have under your belt and applying that into a book, but then you are also taking it well beyond that and going down all the possible rabbit trails to define all those rabbit trails for everybody else who's going to then go after you and look, and you have plowed that path and already blazed that trail, as it were, for everybody to do. And that's well done, sir, because that is a huge benefit to the industry.
Well, yeah, thanks, Will. Although I'm just the front man. I mean, there's a whole band, and then there's a production company and a stage crew and a record label, to use the music metaphor. I mean, it's a big, big team effort. I mean, I might be, well, that metaphor doesn't go that well because I'm a terrible singer. You would not want me to sing. But when writing a tech book, it's not just me and the publisher. There are one or more technical editors who are subject matter experts on the same content, and their job is to go through line by line, paragraph by paragraph, page by page, to ensure that what I say is correct and that the way I explain things is useful and helpful for readers. And I've been a tech editor. That's how I started out in publishing in the early 90s when I got pulled into the business by my colleague Liz Sudo, writing her first book, Informix Online Performance Tuning. Anybody remember Informix out there? Show of hands. They were the best database management system out there, but Oracle had better marketing. So guess what? Yeah. But Informix is still around. It's owned by IBM. But anyway, it is definitely a group effort. There are so many sets of eyes on the manuscript, and sometimes different sections or chapters will look somewhat different than the way I drafted them, because some tech editor said, "Dude, you explained that all wrong. You got to say it this way, not that way. Nobody does it that way anymore. Where have you been?" It's like, okay, all right, I'll work it. Like, okay, now how's this look? I was like, okay, better. Now you got it.
Are you meaning to tell me the human that literally writes the books on how to be certified as a professional has to be corrected from time to time?
Of course.
Welcome to the human race.
Did you see what I did there? Nobody is ever the smartest person in the room. Not even the person that writes the books on how to be the smartest person in the room. That's what just happened in my brain, at least. And that's amazing. I love the collaboration of that. Like,
yeah, and those tech reviewers, I mean, in every book I've done, I mean, I give high praise to the tech editors by name, because they can make a good book into a great book. Because anytime you're doing any kind of a big endeavor in the technology world, for instance, if someone is going to go write a program, you don't just have one programmer write the code, publish the code, and sell it. I mean, it's not done that way. You have help from other experts to ensure that it was done right, that it's accurate, that it works the way it needs to. And that's how you succeed in building any technology product.
Yeah, it's kind of like having a quality assurance team.
Exactly. It's all about the quality, because once it's in print and it's out there, you can't
take it back.
change it.
Somebody bought it, they're highlighting it and tweeting about it right now. Like, don't do that. That's awesome. I love that. So what are you working on? Are you writing anything now?
Yes. Let's see. What am I writing right now? I'm writing the next edition of a CISA study guide.
Okay.
I've written what's called the CISA All-in-One Exam Guide, published by McGraw-Hill. I've written 4 editions of that, going back. Let's see. Let me look on my list here, see if I can find it quickly. Back to 2009, the first edition came out, and I'm working on the 5th go round on that. But doing it with a different publisher, and Mike Chappell and I are teaming up on that book. So it'll be out in a few months. The chapters are all drafted, and we're just going through that technical editing, copy editing, proofing, and so forth, which is kind of a grind, but you have to do it for quality.
Yeah.
Geez, dude, how often do you have to change out keyboards?
Never, but some of the letters on the keyboards are just white now. I can't see what they say. Like the L key is just white, but I'm a touch typist from way back. So.
I'm trying to see if any of mine are. Yeah, my ASDW. That's how you know you're a gamer, Mom. Whatever your ASDW is kind of worn off a bit. It is. That's the directional one, Peter. I don't know if you.
Boggsy, you remind me, the comment up there reminds me of a joke about Roz, if you want to put that up, because I don't know that it's up there. I said
Roz. We were joking in the pre-show that Meg was like Frasier's producer of his show, right, and he called her Roz.
Anyway,
what is he talking to?
It's a riddle about programming, and the riddle goes something like this. It's like, how do you know when a programmer is done writing a program? And then, the general, first blush naive answer is going to be when he's done writing it. And it's like, no, it's when management says we're shipping it tomorrow. It's going. So you're done. You're out of time.
Yep. Now it's live. Ta-da. So looking forward, right? So you're currently with GCI, working on a few things writing wise. What do you see yourself doing in the next, I don't know, 3 to 5 years? What's your 3 to 5 year plan, Peter?
Yeah. Good question. So this is probably where I'll talk about my big thing here. I have transitioned from full-time employment to full-time gig economy freelance work as of second quarter this year. So I'm still at GCI. I no longer have the senior director GRC title, but I'm still there as an advisor and to help keep certain things rolling along until my replacement is hired, which I think they'll start looking around the end of summer. And so that's a big shift. I've been working full-time W-2 since 1979, and I'm tired. And there's many other things I've wanted to do. I've wanted to write more. And the opportunity came along. I thought, I could do this. And Rebecca and I talked about it starting last fall. And then I started talking about it with HR at GCI back in around January. And then I talked to my boss about it in February. And so I'm in this, like the biggest transition of my career.
Wow.
Is walking away from full-time employment. I haven't put it in writing online yet, but if you're watching and listening, I've said it. And it's really great. I've been getting up at 4 a.m. since 1999 to write first thing in the morning, from like 4 to 7 every day. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm sleeping in. Of course, the first few weeks I was still, waking up at like 4:35 because it takes a while to.
That's a hard habit to break.
Yeah. I was born a night owl, but my career forced me into being a very early morning person just a few years in, which has been fine and great. So yeah, the next big thing is this big transition from full-time work to part-time work, and I mean, little opportunities for doing this and that are coming in.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm enjoying having a lot more control over my schedule and doing what I want. Although I am bullish on GCI. GCI is a great company. I do want to say this. I mean, the executive management and ownership, they care deeply, deeply about the workforce. And they say it and they show it and they do it. And that is why I had joined that company, because I knew some of the top executives for years. And when the opportunity to join them came, I thought, this will be a great place. And
fantastic.
Loved working there. But, other things have been calling me. And so, here I am today. I'm going to just be doing more writing and developing other kinds of content to help aspiring security professionals learn more about the craft. There weren't too many people around when I got into cybersecurity. There were very few books in print. There were no study guides for CISSP or anything else. Most of those certs didn't even exist yet.
Right.
When I got my CISSP, it was only 5 or 6 years old, I think. What I found is if you want to make a difference in this career, and I'll say it a little bit like this. For all of you who are in InfoSec, you're in a great industry. You're probably paid pretty well. I mean, you should be. It's high demand, and it's a fairly high salary career in technology generally. I mean, there are a few other areas where you can make even more money, but you can do it well. So are you going to just take the money and not help anybody else, or are you going to help other people get into this business? Because there's a shortage of personnel. I mean, I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands or millions. It depends on who says so and how you count.
Yeah.
But this industry needs more good people. And I recognized that early on, and that was a part of the reason I started writing certification exam guides, because it's using a talent that I have to help lots of other people get into the business and do it better. I mean, we're almost in the fight of our life here. I mean, this is like good versus evil, and we're on the right side of this fight. And we need to help each other. There's not everybody needs to write books. I mean, you can mentor people, you can speak, you can help people you work with.
You can host a weekly live stream.
Yeah. I mean, find a way of helping other people get into the business or improve in the business. That's what I'll say.
And I'll echo that. Just Monday, Jim and I were at a meeting in Phoenix with a lot of the businesses around there, and with Jen Easterly. And,
I was going to say, is this the update? You're going to share the update? Yay!
But she was making it pretty clear. We're expecting, as a nation, a lot of difficulty coming from our adversaries, because it is the primary way to, one, interrupt the economy, and two, cause disruption inside the homeland, to try to neuter the military, right? And you're 100% correct. There's real stuff coming, and we need people desperately with talent and ability. And so I'll echo that 100%, Peter, and thank you for your contributions in that area and your continued contributions in that area, because it's a big deal. Most definitely.
Well, I can sleep at night because I know that, I'm not just a taker, I'm a giver as well. And I think more of us need to think about, am I only taking and enjoying, the fruits of my work in this industry for myself only, or, should I help others come in? Because we need more good people in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we only get the more diverse the backgrounds, the stronger we get, right? Because then you have all these very interesting, beautiful ways of thinking that meld together. Yeah. Oh, some of my favorite things are just sitting in like one of those sounding board type meetings where you're pardon me, where you're bouncing your idea off of people on, anything. It can be anything. It could be, you're working on a project specific to work, or it's like a side thing, or I've heard some of the best conversations when people are developing their own home labs, and you get a bunch of people that are just starting to build a home lab to, just play with stuff. And then somebody that's done it before, and they all just, sparkly magic. I love it. I love it whenever, and that's why we do this. Look at all the people contributing to each other right here. I love this. One of the best ways that you can kind of network and be stronger together is go down through these shows and you see these people's names that are commenting. A lot of the people that come from YouTube, by the way, that's their actual name. You can find them on LinkedIn and connect with them. Tell them that, be like, hey, I was on the coffee table talk and I saw you chitty chatting. I want to, say hi, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Our audience is so lovely. Like, they're so welcoming to other people. And that's what I love, is that it's kind of a welcome wagon situation. I was new once upon a time. I'm less new. I still feel new, but I'm less new now. And I just hope that everybody else really enjoys meeting my friends like Peter and hanging out with, Will and having Meg down in there. And you don't just come and hang out with us, though. Hang out with each other too. Like, go make friends with people that you see in the chat. Like, if they're chatty, they're a little bit extroverted, at least in a digital sphere. So always good to reach out, kind of look at each other's backgrounds, see what they're into, what they're up to, and just, or just say hi. You never know. That's a great way to keep future job opportunities open between each other, be able to de-stress. I have some cadence meetings where literally what we do, it's almost like I'm an unlicensed therapist for industry. Like, sometimes I will just sit and listen, and we'll generate ideas about how to tackle that problem. Or sometimes I'll get them in contact with somebody else that may have more knowledge about a specific issue that they're concerned with.
Right. Well, Rachel, humans are made to be in community, and you have built a great community here, and you got a great tribe with the coffee table talks, and the context is technology, but it's hard for us to live without community. That's what made the pandemic so hard on a lot of people, is people were suddenly, thrust into isolation, and they lost their work communities, the town communities, church communities, whatever. And it's not good for us.
No. To echo the sentiment around how community actually makes you stronger as a member of the human species. Do you know how intelligent squid are? They're so intelligent. And octopi.
So I've heard.
Right. You want to know the one thing, though, why it is that they're not ruling and it's us? It's because they don't interface with each other. They don't share their knowledge from one to the other. Like
they don't have a way of communicating?
No, well, they do actually. Scientists have found. You can go look this up, because I'm such a dork when it comes. And my kids right now are super interested in like animal documentaries, so we've been ingesting those at a pretty high rate over the summer. But I went and looked some of this stuff up, and they are able to communicate amongst each other. But one of the reasons from an evolutionary standpoint, is that they never developed that sense of community. They don't rely on one another the way that Homo sapiens did. Like, And that's really cool. I was like, look at that. It's the only reason why we are the apex is because of each other.
Indeed. I mean, we succeed in technology was made possible because of thousands of powerful thinkers building their little bits of things all along the way. I mean, going back 200-300 years at least.
Go make a friend. Don't be an octopi. I don't know.
There you go.
As I go. All right. I think we're at the 3-minute mark where Meg's about to yell at me and be like, Rachel, 3 minutes. Here we go. All right. So just to recap, Peter is awesome. Reach out to Peter. Buy all of Peter's books, every one of them, which I will probably also be doing. I already have like 4 on my bookshelf, by the way. They were not the latest versions, though. I'm disappointed in myself because when I went to go refill the coffee right in the pre-show when we did our little go refill your cup break before we went live, I went and looked at them and they're all like really old versions. So I'm gonna have to update some things. But yeah, go grab those. Oh, good. Peter's book list. I was a teacher with passion, but then switched to IT. I find that we tend to meander well through different groups for the yeah, we do. I was like, wait, what? Yes. Anyway, go buy all of Peter's books. Why not? You should. If you don't need it, I'll bet you somebody you know does. And go check out Will and what they're up to at PIMA Community College. Meg, do we have that QR code? By the way, I know you're so busy in the background, furiously making sure everybody gets seen and answered. Okay. So yeah, go check out what the cybersecurity program is all about at PIMA. It's very cool. It should be everywhere. I think it should be accessible in every state. I'm just saying, or all over the world. Whatever. I don't care. We're taking over the world. That's how it's going to roll. If you are at, what do we say was going on right now? DEF CON? It's DEF CON.
Yeah.
DEF CON.
Yeah. If you're at
the Black Hat DEF CON week in Vegas.
Yes. It's summer camp. It always interrupts that first week of school for us, for the kiddos. And people always ask me every year, and I love it. Don't stop asking me. Don't give up on me, please. They're like, are you going to be at summer camp? And I'm like, I can't. Because I can't miss my kids. Whenever all 3 of them will be teenagers in roughly the same time frame, and they're sick of mom, then I'll go. Then I'll go.
Then you get the break, they get the break.
Yeah, it's then.
And then hopefully your house is still standing when you return.
Well, I mean, there is a dad. Oh, well, they probably would duct tape him to a wall or something.
Unless they burn it down together. Yeah.
My kids understand the sense of community and what they can accomplish when the 3 of them gang up against 1 or 2 of us. So,
yeah. Well, the cool thing is that we've got GRCon, which unfortunately, everybody, I'm sorry, tickets are sold out. But I'm really looking forward to that one. That's going to be a whole lot of fun.
I'm so excited. That's the end of September. Oh, it's like 7 weeks. We got 7 weeks. I got to get swag. What should we have for swag? Oh, no. ADHD spiral. Here we go. We got to log off, you guys.
Oh, okay. Rachel's gone. But,
Peter, any final thoughts or message you'd like to share with everybody before I squirrel off into ADHD land over swag for GRCon?
If you're asking me, just keep learning. And if you're more senior in the profession, start turning those no's into yeses when other people ask if you can mentor them. It's good for both parties.
Peter, I want to thank you for your contributions that you have made in this industry and how much you have poured into people throughout this industry. That is huge, right? I'm an educator at heart, so props and thank you very much and your passion to give back, because that is so much needed all the way across the board. And thank you for being that mentor and that example. Well done.
Absolutely. The honor is mine, honestly.
Well done, sir.
Very much so. And appreciate everybody in the audience that joined us today. Thank you so much for attending and grabbing a cup and circling up with us. Thank you, Matthias. Great chat. Thank you. You're welcome. We do this fairly regularly. You should come back next week. And,
oh yeah, Matthias, you got to come back. Rachel's coffee table talks are great. Interesting conversations every time.
Okay, so next week, number one.
That's going to be fun.
It's my birthday. Is next week. Next Friday, it's my birthday. And our guest is going to be Nick Espinoza.
Yeah, if you haven't seen his thing, he's a lot of fun.
He is. Do you follow Nick, Peter?
I think so, yeah. And I got to ask, Will and Meg, you have some shenanigans planned for next week? You probably don't want to say it, but come on, it only comes once a year. You got a week to figure something out.
I'm excited. And it's a big one, too. It's one of those milestone birthdays. I'm going to be 40.
30? 40?
40. This many. I'm this many, as my kids say. I'm going to be this many. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. We're going to, I'm going to do family stuff. So I'm doing coffee table talk. That's going to kick off the birthday. It's coffee table talk. And then I'm doing family stuff that evening. And then the next night I have heard there's going to be a party at my house. So if you guys are in the area, drop on by. It's going to, like, the theme is high school sleepover, because that's what you do when you're 40 and a super responsible adult. Yeah. Basically, Josh asked me, he said, what do you want to do for your party? And I went, be extraordinarily comfortable, not dress up.
Good choice.
And hang out with my favorite people. That's it. That's what I want to do. And he was like, great. So a high school slumber party is actually just a cover for let's all wear our stretchy pants and hang out on the couch. That couch right there. It's going to be right here in this room. It's going to be great. Y'all have a safe and wonderful weekend. I hope you are able to hang it up for a second and at least walk outside your doors, get some air and some sunshine. Apparently that stuff is good for you, your anxiety and depression. Sunshine. Go be a sunflower in your front yard. Send me a picture. I will.
Much of it, right? There is too much.
Okay, fine. Don't get too much, Dad. But we'll see you guys next week. And yeah, again, thank you so much, Peter, for just
absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for bringing me in. Great to see you both again.
Oh, always a pleasure to hang out with you.